Hi, Michelle Singer. I'm the Adult Programs and Outreach Coordinator at the Kellogg-Hubbard Library. As Sam said, this is our first program of the season. It's also our first ever hybrid program. So we're going to be technically figuring this out, and you're going to help us, and we appreciate that very much. But we're really glad to have you here by Zoom, and we're really glad to have you here in person, and we're glad to be sharing poetry tonight. I can't really think of a better way to start programming for the Kellogg-Hubbard Library. So welcome. You guys on Zoom are already pros, I can tell, because you're muted, and that is important because as soon as you unmute, we can hear you on the PA system in this room. So that is perfect for when you're reading your poetry, but it's not perfect if your phone rings and you're not muted. As you all, I can see you all understand that very well. So if you, we hope you can hear us well. Just give a little message in the chat if you're having trouble hearing a speaker, and I'll relay that message. Otherwise, we're going to go back and forth between people in the room and people on Zoom and enjoy each other's reading. And I'm just really happy to have everyone together tonight. And here's Sam.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi on Zoom. I'm going to turn around and say hi to the room. See, we're rhyming already. So my name is Samantha Kolber. My friends know me as Sam. I'm happy to start us off and to be our host tonight. I have a list of 8 poets who are going to read for our open mic. If you're new joining Zoom and need to add yourself to the list, just shoot something in the chat and we will add you. We're asking for you to keep it to about 4 to 5 minutes. I think 5 minutes is fine since we're not too many people, but 5 minutes will still get us to like about an hour if we've got 10 people. So 5 minutes, I'll be keeping time, and I might like wave, where's the camera? I'll do a wave if we're getting near your time. And that's it. I hope we have some great poetry, and thanks for coming. I'm gonna read something from my little chapbook. It's Birth of a Daughter. My daughter did the artwork. It's a collaborative project. So I'll read the title poem, Birth of a Daughter. Is the sound okay? I don't know what, we had a request. Oh, not the receiver. Okay. All right. I don't know where to look, so I'm going to just look at my book. Birth of a Daughter. I birth myself anew as I birth you, daughter. I am me, plus and minus the cells expunged to create you, daughter. You arrive, doll-sized, bright-eyed, a sponge soaking up my milk. More cells I shed to make you, feed you, daughter. Am I the mushroom, the fleshy, spore-bearing, fruiting body of a fungus? Or are you? Or do we form one as a verb? Do we mushroom into this life together, daughter? I write this as you are away. We call it school, though it is June and you are 3. I work, I write, I sit outside in the sun, and I can't lie, it's delicious, this time away from you. It's precious, as are you. It has only taken me 42 years to realize I am precious, too. Thank you. Thank you. That was kind of funny, because I didn't know where I'm looking for my audience. But it's really nice to share poems. My book is available at Bear Pond Books. It's also here at Kellogg-Hubbard Library. Thank you. I'm going to call up our next poet, Ava Dimmick.
Hello, folks. Some of you might know that the Jewish high holidays are here. And so in honor of that, I've got a poem about being Jewish. It's called Lenticular Jew. lenticular Jew. Nearly breathing on its own, that soft and warm. Yeasted bread with the glossy egg glaze. The bread, the lies, me spared to live by a stone wall with little gaps of light and air. In effect, a giant tilt card billboard, different image, different lens from where you are, and where am I? As lately as today, I am, a bit further open, inviting pollinators and other allies. A bit further on, slowly as lichen grows, invisible holds on a rock face ascent, a stop-motion time warp of disaster, when the weapon has fired, but the pain has not hit. The bridge of death tread, but not crossed. The eternity between discovery of a lie and what lies beyond. Mama made a cake in a bundt pan and frosted it. The taste I remember without fail. Code I didn't know was ciphered until it broke one day, signaling a birth of sorts. Tadara's Deli also sold broccoli rape and garlic, salami and cheese, and next to the daily baguettes, this bread. Only available on Saturdays. I asked why, they said it's challah. As if I would understand the story whole and ought to have known. And eventually I came to know my lineage of survivors, tilting the card this way and that, seeing the bigger picture. Lenticular Jews. So that is not in my book, which is called The Lost Grip, available at your local bookstore. Do I have time?
We have 2 minutes.
Okay, I have another poem, also not in The Lost Grip, but you can read other ones there. This one's called Our Backyard, and I could say there's a trigger warning for New Jersey. Our backyard. Paula lived catty corner behind us in our rundown New Jersey town with its Garden State name. Our grass was patchy, but the fence between our yards was overgrown with a wild flourish of vines from the people before us, and there were shortcuts if you could find them. We imagined it a vineyard, named it Martha, because of something we heard in school. Paula said guitar with the accent on the first syllable and taught me the word wop. I taught her how to spell jip. She asked me why con meant both with and against, and I didn't know. She said her name was really Paula. And this became a fairy tale for me, her name. We split tomatoes off their stems and brought them bruised and dripping carelessly into her kitchen. Her mama's kind eyes and soft hugs were an entire planet. I felt I belonged. I left Paula's home, confounded by re-entry to my own. Thank you.
Ava. So I realized I didn't ask how to pronounce everybody's last name, so I'm going to introduce by first name. Next up, we have Lisa.
Hello, I'm in North Carolina, actually. So the only way I could participate is by Zoom. But so thank you for inviting me. And the first poem I'm going to read is from my book, Permanent Change of Station. I'm a military spouse, and this was written after we had a permanent change of station, a PCS, from California to North Carolina. My daughter was 2 at the time. This is kind of a love poem to my daughter. On such little things, happiness depends. You say, Stop singing. Lean your head on my shoulder. Begin your own lullaby. Secret system of your voice like bubbling water. Divine manipulation of threads woven through wind and kissed by stars. Secret pieces of news divulged to the night. The black-crowned heron builds his nest out of music by moonlight. Coyotes march from great distances, the doorkeepers and sentries of the dark. Magnolia blossoms as big as the cold crystal moon lean down their sweet scent and listen while the moth spreads her brown wings and flies like a shadow, silent through the trees. Night after night, you sing your story to the stars until you drop down, exhausted on your bed, and your little dog lies down at your feet. And then I thought I'd read a couple. So that's a love poem to my daughter. And then I thought I'd read love poem to my husband and a love poem to my dog. These are not in my book, but this one is Buttons Round and Sound and Pretty. And the title comes from a nursery rhyme called Buttons. Round, you say, like circle. Yes, you say, or yes, I say, and show how to turn each button. Make the eagle stand straight, the earth anchor itself. How easy it is to set this brass in order, to iron wrinkles out of wool, roll tape around our hands, and pat away rogue fluff and lint. I say, how handsome Daddy looks. Wonder if you see a man or someone who flies without wings, circles the earth before returning home. And then the love song to my poem, Reading Zimborska During a Snowstorm. I turn another page, this one dog-eared from some other time. Bergamot steeps in my cup as snow grows deeper outside. For a long while, the only sounds, paper sliding along paper, and a faucet's light stream from down the hall. Then a word sets fire to a thought, and I reach for my pen. The dog rings his bell, but still I attempt to write. He is unyielding. And after he's left prints circling the yard, after he's done his business, I rub his feet warm and kiss the top of his head because I love him. And that moment when idea would explode into poem has passed, but I don't despair. More will burn again.
Thank you, Lisa. Um, It'd be great if everybody who also reads just says where they're from. I think that'd be fun, so we can get a sense of how dispersed we are. The Kellogg-Hubbard Library, for those who aren't local, we're located in Montpelier, Vermont. And next, we have Reuben Jackson, who used to be here in Vermont.
I'm a dual citizen.
And is now joining us on Zoom. Take it away, Reuben.
All right, thank you. Oh, you got my last name right. I'm glad. Okay. Um, I've noticed I turned 65 in 2 weeks, and I've noticed like on social media, thank you. Um, that you start getting a lot of ads for like I got some things for cemetery plots, and then you get a lot of things for virility products, which I found kind of funny. And so this poem is addressing, this sudden shift in I guess demographic interest. And I'm calling it Route 66, like the song, and even though I'm only gonna be 65. Route 66. Tell me the person or persons responsible for ads pushing virility products didn't exit the womb thinking, this is my life's work to leapfrog spam catchers, bug the F out of aging men until they purchase a bottle of Miracle Grow, only to open the medicine cabinet months later and mumble, why? Um, this second and last piece is it's for and about my mother. This originally was part of a poem which ended up in Bon Appetit magazine a couple of months ago, and the theme was like I am becoming my mother, which, well, speaking of getting older, happens. You know, you see bits and pieces of your parents or things you say will come out and you go, oh, that's my mother in 1975 or whatever. Um, my mom, as some of you know, I wanted to work at Bear Pond Books when I graduated from Goddard, and my mother said, "Do you know how much your college education cost?" Which is why I'm not there now, but I'm not dead yet. Okay, I am becoming my mother. And the only other thing you need to know about this poem is my mother hated the Boston Red Sox because they were the last team to integrate, but that's part of the poem. I am becoming my mother. I am becoming my mother, cursing the Boston Red Sox while okra softens like her face. My hands move from pot to pot just as hers did, tuning each course of the meal like drums, unexpectedly humming her favorite Chopin etude as if it were 1959 and she was still captain of everything. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. I love the mother connection. I totally see it as I get older. I see my mother and my daughter all the time too. Next up, we are going to welcome Carolyn on Zoom.
Hi there. Thank you so much. I have one poem for you this evening. There is a little bit of language in there, not too terribly so, I don't think. It's called Preserved. The first poem I ever wrote, I remember it well, 1990, when we all still waited to party like it's 1999. If words dropped from my head before then, the paper was lost long ago, like me. It wasn't saved, it wasn't preserved. The only preservation was self, and perhaps my mother's functioning pickled liver. As I sat in my cubicle tethered to the CRT, I still don't know what that means. The words came rushing out in waves from me, crashing over the data forms stacked quietly, waiting for entry. I entered the world just like everyone else. How did I end up here? Maybe I am everyone else who ever cried or hurt deep inside, fighting the ache like a recovering athlete who needs just one more drink. The clear liquid chill by translucent cubes, clinking and tinkling sounds still remind me of my mother. I am one too, a mother who brought forth children I wasn't old enough to bear, but each one came rushing out of me in waves of hope and joy and wonder and fear. The responsibility, so unprepared. What have I done? I thought to myself as I clung to each one, precious tiny bundles of perception, sensory, extraordinary. You'd hear my life story and think there goes another slutty bitch. But I don't bitch, not anymore, and I wasn't really a slut. Some of us are on a mission, a quest, a need, not an adventure or enjoying the ride or living life's journey. This is life. I have demanded to know on several occasions who the hell signed off on this spec, where is the ultimate high creator and chief designer of this hot mess, and what the fuck were they thinking when they released this build out into the world? Where people like me keep hitting the floor, or is it the glass ceiling? I'll never know quite exactly where I am or where I'm supposed to be heard. I just want to be heard. Not like the cattle loaded into cars that haul us to tiny cubicles each day. Heard as an understood, felt, desired, wanted, known, sought, discovered, found, maybe even needed, but just not preserved. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. As Lanny said on the comments, love people who don't pull punches in their poetry. That was great. Thank you for sharing. We're going to have another poet, and this poet is reading from inside the library. Welcome, Garrett.
Hello. My name is Garrett. First time reading like this. Pretty wild. So I have two poems to read, and grateful to be here, of course. The first one I'm going to read actually was one that is in the Vantage Point poetry book through UVM. And a brief background for this. This is when I started doing labor jobs. So this is kind of an homage to labor when I was working as a carpenter. So this is called Another Day of Dirt. Stick, slather, and keep time with brushes bruised by my boss's orders, leaden like hammer strokes let loose over crescendos of concrete, conducted in the ever-aching hour, ticking its tempo in beads of sweat as tightened tool belts sway to the rhythm of shovelfuls flung from ditches of mud, dug where boots stamp prints like signatures, and the percussive echo cries over whirling drills as clouds of sawdust fall like fingernails, caught choking air with the shards coughed from spinning blades, their metal teeth slicing nothing now but sound, as to the collective beat the scuttling broom threads gallop over shingle scrap shrapnel, gliding soft thread fingers over lanes of gravel, glued by tar spots, speckled black, as in unison the shared acceleration climbs as the grunts go rolling under the pitch of screws, soon wedged between each timber, as the summer sent its sun down bare backs, browned and burnt in another day of dirt. Thank you. And the second and last poem I'll read, it was interesting today thinking how much life happens in the span of two poems. So that made me, that humbled me today. So this is a working piece, but it's new. Working title, so it's just called, this is a little more broad. So this is called For Mary Rose and Everyone Who Ever Was. People of the world, sing the suffering of your heart song. Sing your stillbirth. Sing your heartbrokenness. Sing the suicide where the old earth shatters and only shame dies. Sing your losses, your doubts. Sing your house fires, your homelessness, your terrors, and your tears. Sing your cousin's murder after his mental health recovery. Sing your poverty. Sing your lack of spending money. Sing your chills, your shivering, your scars and rashes. Sing the loss of a limb, your cancers, your depression, and your exhaustion. Sing so the depth of our singing builds a foundation, a mycelium. Sing until we notice we're singing the same songs. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. It takes an especially brave poet to read a poem in construction, a poem that's new, so thank you. And I heard some of the builder stuff in there with the foundation of the singing. Next, we're going to have our Zoom poet, Lanny.
Like I said earlier, I'm excited to be reading. This is my first time at this open mic. I will be reading from my book, Good Morning to Everyone Except Men Who Name Their Dogs Zeus. And everybody always laughs, but I need to let you know that it's actually a very heavy book about sexual assault and obviously Greek mythology and men who are obsessed with powerful men. So that's why I got to keep the title light. And we've had a few mother poems, so I wanted to start there with My mother deftly misses the point. I tell her, Billy stares at me. Billy of the ponytail, of the chatter, of the unpaid rent. Billy, the virtual stranger, whom I beg my mother not to invite to Thanksgiving. He may have a lazy eye, she theorizes. Billy of the eyes I know are blue and alert because of how often I find them across the room and on my ass. I tell her I won't come to dinner if Billy is there. She ignores the ultimatum and asks, "Are you sure you don't mean Tim?" So the next poem is called Husk. It's not one I read too often, but I thought I would give it a shot here. Husk. Husk is a strange word to climb into. I would rather woman. I would rather whole. Even gunslinger would do. I am of sheet. I am specter. I am expecting the lights and din to swallow me, because they did once. His palms, stoic deserts, tumbleweeds rolling across my ghost town body. And all I remember is the number of blades on the ceiling is 5. And the last poem that I'll read tonight is called How Many Hands Does the Trout Have? The last river that touched me shot down the mountain like a bullet through a ruddy duck. Impatient and entitled, water spilled into my mouth before a wave could swell. And try as I might, I could not avoid the jumping fish in my arms, in my lap, between lips, too tired to dam the currents. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lanny. It's so nice to hear poems from that new book. It just came out recently, right? Isn't it a few months old, I think?
Yeah, it came out in mid-June.
Congrats. So everybody here, I hope you're going to support poets and buy poetry books. You can buy them at your local bookstore. You can buy them straight from publishers. It's really great for poets and publishers to support them directly. That's my little rant. We have one more poet tonight. I'm very excited to introduce another Zoom poet. Welcome, JC.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here. I am a dual citizen as well, so I would have loved to have been at Kellogg-Hubbard Library in person, but I'm in Chicago, in my Chicago space. And I want to thank Kellogg-Hubbard Library for creating this opportunity. And it's just such a beautiful example of the connecting power of poetry. I host an ekphrastic art-inspired poetry series and have a book called Voicing Art. And Ruben and Carolyn have both contributed poems to the Voicing Art events. I'm so happy to finally be in the same space with Ruben at the same time. And Carolyn and I got to meet in Chicago this weekend. And in the Small World department, I have not met Tim, but I have followed his current journey through the Right Action newsletter. So it's just such a beautiful community, so I'm happy to be here. I normally write on very macrocosmic subjects, and the past year and a half of COVID has sparked me to write about personal connection in a way that has surprised me. So we've had a lot of mother poems, and this first poem is actually about my grandmother, who was first-generation Hungarian, set out on foot from Hungary in 1948 and arrived in New York in 1949 and ended up living on Long Island. I also write about cities as beings, and so this is Love Song to New York. You always said chestnuts were sweet in a way that was indescribable, that the meat was luscious and could burn your hands, that they released a steam that warmed the pores of your childhood face, and that one smell, one touch of umber burning heat, edged with burnt sienna of the crisp curling skin, one whisper of steam's caress transported you to a black and white city, itself edged with sepia, across the sea wrapped in mist that collapsed the years. And in my youth, the city where you landed seemed the same, so far away in time, living in black and white, overlaid by the bright carnival colors of child years, wheeling through FAO Schwartz and the starred crystal chips of Fortunoff and the punch of primary sails on the pond and slicing, slurrying sound of skates scraping on the ice in Central Park, and winged horses whose hot flanks I could feel under my legs, flying over giant fences to a roaring crowd in a mythical arena whose cousin laid coiled and perched in Rome. Now I read in a book that could not have existed in your time. Home was the sugar-sweet smell of the vendor selling roasted nuts on the corner of 41st Street and 5th Avenue. And that's it. So totally it. I am at once on the vast street corner of the ocean of the city and in the den of the autumn couch with the roughed stuffed orange yak in my arms, and further back through my blood in the sepia city of longing and pain. And you are cracking open a chestnut you have finally steamed one Christmas, blowing on it to release the heat and perfume, and handing me the whole of yourself with the glint of the innocence that came before, gleaming in your eye like the magic chain of lights adorning the Chrysler building of my dreams. And the second one, so I take my inspiration from cities a lot, and I also write a lot of art-inspired poetry. So I don't know if this image is visible. You can kind of get, this poem is inspired by this painting by Cynthia Rosen. She's a Vermont artist, and it's called Wading in the River. This is my darling. Will you fall, my darling, down the slope of my stooped shoulders in your delicate pink shirt? Or will you take a running start up the hills of my wisdom and leap with joyful abandon into the cerulean sea reflected in our humble river, the conveyor of my dreams? Will you roll in the dun sands of our river's shore, dear one, turning your white blouse into a sheet of papyrus on which you will write my history and a new constitution suitable to your time when no girl is cut lest she fall prematurely and stain her white habit? Reflection mine, rippling with the distortion of arms stirring up the silt in the cleaning. Have you dropped away from me, disappointed with the life I have made, straining to fly free? Or do you take comfort in my face familiar, replicated in a tiny pink shirt and a little white blouse, tumbling playfully into the water, laughter bubbling as the rich reeded flutes of my childhood floated downriver, over falls after falls, stepping into the ocean of ancestors, future and past? Let me hold you for a time, rocking you to sleep on the banks of the river, before the falls sweep you out and away to the currents of your own shores. Thank you.
Thank you. Before, we've been great on time, but I don't know if we had any more poets join us that wanted to read tonight.
He could read one if there was time. If you
Yeah.
would like to read, you are very welcome.
Would you like to read?
Maybe after Tim.
Okay. Tim, are you ready to read a poem? Is Tim here back from his,
Yeah, I could give it a try.
okay. It's so great to have you here tonight, Tim. Did we just freeze, or is that
We
just me?
did just freeze.
Oh. Well, but one of my windows is frozen, one isn't. Can anybody hear me? Well, I see Tim. Is Tim frozen?
Yeah,
Are you there? Okay. I'm so glad you're feeling better. Tim was, well, maybe he'll tell the story, but he's back from the hospital, so it's really nice, especially nice to see him. So take it
Yeah.
away, Tim.
all right. So I recently, I'm still coming back from a bicycle accident, and my voice isn't quite what it was, but I've been doing some writing, and so I thought I'd read one poem, which I've done since I've been recovering. I think about the only thing you need to know about this poem is that I have a daughter, and she's somebody who I met for the first time when she was 11. It's taken us all of our lives to sort of develop a father-daughter relationship, although I think now we have. And so I guess that's all I need to say. The stranger you don't know. When my daughters saw me, neck brace, keeping even my lower lip stiff, I saw for the first time fear of loss crumple the freckles on her face and open wide her hazel eyes. It's not that I don't know loss. It was my middle name for most of my life until I finally managed to lose it, sloughing it off like the loosened skin a snake sheds, then slithers on oblivious of what's left behind. But what I saw was a moment which had escaped me my whole life. Seeing someone I thought I knew suddenly express a desperate love for a person I didn't know, a stranger who I realized was me. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim. It's so nice to see you. Tim has a book, I'm not sure if I'm gonna get the title right, The Timekeeper at the Mental Hospital?
Oh,
I'm missing a word.
notes. Yeah, let's see if I,
The Timekeeper.
notes to the mental hospital timekeeper,
Notes to the
which is,
Mental Hospital Timekeeper. Sorry, I
yeah,
butchered that. It's a
that's
beautiful.
all right.
Um,
Thank you.
so people are putting on Twitter handles or Instagram handles. Please feel free to put some out over chat. We'd love to follow more poetry. Do we want to have another reader in the room? I didn't get your name, so please introduce yourself.
My name is Sarah, and I'm pretty local here. So fear, it's called fear. Fear, you pesky piece of rice in my oatmeal. What are you doing here? It must have been that mouse, another pesky thing, who carried you 4 bags over on the pantry shelf. I guess I scooped you up in my measuring cup, but you're sneaky, hiding in the middle between all those innocent oats who were politely accepting you where you didn't belong. I never would have figured those whole grains to be such a tolerant group. They're making me look bad, spiraling with anxiety, all because of that one whisper of doubt in my breakfast bowl, happily plopped down beside a blueberry I picked myself. An intruder surrounded by hundreds of legals just going about their business, mixing together with the milk, the syrup, the berries, but not me. Why does that tiny speck of white stop my spoon so I think I can't? I would have savored my breakfast if not for that stupid mouse. Man, I hate mice, but I'm an advocate, so I'll eat the rice with the rest and move on.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if Michelle has any more words or if we want to invite any more poets up. I mean, we have a few more minutes, I guess.
Is there anyone else who wants to read something or read again? We have a couple more minutes.
We do have 4 minutes. I might grab a poem. I brought a couple. I did one, so I think I'll end on a poem if that's okay. Let me grab it. This one is not in the book, but it's I think it's a fun one. Fun poem. Ha ha ha. Sorry. Most of my poems are awfully dark. But this is called A Front Row Seat by the Sea. I wrote it at the beach on Cape Cod. Reader, I am the words that you are reading. I am the woman who's always late. I am the mother who takes a shower in 5 minutes, and only after The baby is changed and fed. I am the line of the sea and the calm of the bay, the one who has to choose between poetry and family. I am the dark black line of ink on this comforting blank page. And did you know that I'm an orphan with a father still alive? I want to believe in angels. I want to believe in a God with a sense of humor. I want to believe in a just God. But you know, and I know, there is none of that. The world is flat when it comes to that. The world today is a flat line, like the sea. The world is a line, and I, its writer. The world is sublime. It is mine and yours. Go, grab yourself. Oh, go, grab your chair. Stake yourself out, a front row seat. Thank you. Go forth and write poems.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Sam, for emceeing tonight. It's I was so moved by everybody's work. That's why we love poetry, and let's continue. So thanks everybody for being here in this new format. I totally enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Have a good night.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it works.
I mean, if we have people from all over, you can come from Chicago, from North Carolina, like, hey.
I do like it. And Ruben's back.
Oh, yeah, I meant to say, I did record this. So what I do is, I put the recording on the adult programs page of the Kellogg-Hubbard Library website. So if you want to go back, you want to revisit some of the words, that's where it will live after this.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Keep healing, get better.
Thank you.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, that's right.